Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, also a Fox News contributor, joins us now. I want you to listen to the State Department spokesperson, Matt Miller.
What I'd say is we have made significant progress with getting towards a resolution that includes progress from where we were when I spoke to this last week, but we're not done yet. Nothing is final until everything is final. We continue to work to try and get an agreement over the line. And we're hopeful we can get one, but we need both of the parties to get to yes.
What do you think of the agreement as you understand it so far?
Well, Dana, it sounds like it's a 60-day agreement. That shouldn't surprise anyone that there's about 60 days until President Trump takes office. I think the Israelis were put under enormous pressure to sign this ceasefire. We should all note that it's not a peace deal. It's not a long-term arrangement. It's just a temporary ceasefire for a couple of months. And we'll see if the Hezbollah warriors violate this, as they violated virtually every other agreement that they have signed, and they go right back at it. I hope the Israelis have made a good decision. They know more about this than any of us do, so I have confidence that they have this right. But unfortunately, I think the American administration, the Biden team, put a lot of pressure on them at the United Nations to sign this. And we all know, had they agreed to a ceasefire when they were originally told to do it by the Biden administration, there'd be a lot more terrorists and a lot more risk, not only for Israel, but the United States today. So we'll have to see what's in this and unpack it when we do.
So in the commercial break, Bill Hemmer and I were talking about how when he was there in 2006 during that war, covering it, and Hezbollah never really stopped the fighting.
Dana, that's exactly right. I suspect they won't, and we should not for a moment mistake Hezbollah for the core problem. The core problem is their Iranian sponsors in Tehran. The Iranians aren't signing on to this deal, and so goodness knows whether the attacks will now come from Syria, the attacks will continue from Gaza. The challenge that is presented to Israel is much deeper than just the missiles and the missile systems up in the north. And we'll see. I suspect Hezbollah will continue to continue its commercial criminal enterprises that have funded it for so long, and that this ceasefire will prove ephemeral. But I hope I'm wrong. More peace is always better.
And, of course, the Israelis want to be able to move the citizens back to that part of the country since they've been displaced since October 7th. Also want to ask you about this. Go to another theater. Let's go to Russia and Ukraine. And Russia launching a record drone attack on Ukraine. Here's the Washington Post headline. Ukraine prepares to sell Trump on why U.S. should maintain support. That might be difficult if you look at this poll here. This is done before the Biden administration used Ukraine allowed Ukraine to use these new weapons. But support has been dwindling. And there are a lot of people who think that, we're maybe either doing too much or about right. The Ukrainians certainly want more, but there will soon be a new sheriff in town. What can you expect?
Oh, that's right. There'll be a new sheriff in town, and I suspect that will fundamentally change the nature of Vladimir Putin's actions. Dan and Bill, we for 4 years kept Vladimir Putin from invading Ukraine. We had a deterrence model that worked. And when President Trump is back in power, back on the scene, I suspect that deterrence model will reestablish itself. And make no mistake about it, President Trump was very clear. We put real pressure on Russia not to do precisely what they did, cause trouble in the world, invade Europe, as they had under President Obama when they took Crimea, and as they did again under President Biden. I think the missile attack at a real scale last night into Ukraine is evidence that Vladimir Putin knows that this is his maximum point of leverage, and that in 60 days, fundamentally, his leverage will have decreased, and the shaping of that conflict will have fundamentally changed as well.
Well, we will pay attention to it and keep talking to you as well. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, thanks for joining us this morning.
Dana, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and Bill.
Thank you.